Hi everybody, I'm Julia for M&A Advisors, and joining me this morning is Mr. Richard Peterson, the Director of S&P Capital IQ. Welcome.
Great to be here, thank you.
So what do you do?
My job, part of a group called Global Markets Intelligence, and our mission is varied. We track corporate earnings, we review company valuations for M&A, initial public offerings, and we just provide a lot of services to our clients.
Can you talk a little bit about the M&A space going forward?
Well, looking at where we stand in early 2014, it's been a very good year. If you look at numbers just in the United States, to date, there's been over $250 billion in announced transactions. In fact, this week we had the announcement that Facebook was acquiring a company called WhatsApp for over $19 billion. And it's tremendous for a variety of benchmarks. It's the largest technology deal this year. It's the 8th largest ever U.S. technology transaction, and furthermore, it's one of the largest ever private companies to be acquired.
Absolutely. Other than technology sector, what other sectors are hot right now?
Well, I mean, you look across the board, there's really very few sectors that are not seeing improvement from the prior year. If you look at consumer discretionary, which encompasses cable television, we see Comcast acquiring Time Warner Cable. Also within that realm, you see a company called Beam, a distiller, being purchased by a Japanese firm called Suntory for over $16 billion. But I also see transactions in financials, healthcare, energy, and across the board.
In terms of energy space, what do you think is going to happen for the rest of this year?
Well, looking at the numbers as we speak on a worldwide basis, actually we're seeing an improvement in the number of deals. So far this year, there's been about 230 deals announced compared to about 200 this time a year ago. In terms of the dollar amount is kind of flattish. I think that's really a function of the internal of the energy industry. By that I mean, if you look at the U.S. energy sector, they're seeing a decline year over year in corporate earnings and also the flat revenue growth. So right now we don't expect those earnings, those revenues to improve until the end part of 2014. In fact, if you talk to some CFOs in the industry, they're very recalcitrant to doing any deals right now that are either not accretive initially, because for some assets they feel they're overvalued, and some they're not have the wherewithal to do deals at this time.
Why do you think earnings plateaued? Because that's not true for every sector. Earnings just came out. A lot of companies beat, but energy sector did not really outperform.
In fact, you look at the corporate earnings for the S&P 500. For the fourth quarter of 2013, we're probably going to end up somewhere around 8%. That seems maybe lackluster, but in fact, that's the best earnings growth year over year since the fourth quarter of 2011. So earnings growth has been very strong, but for the revenue sectors, it's been not as strong. I think within the sector, we're seeing actually some interesting deals that have transpired being brought about by activist shareholders. Case in point, Hess Corporation, which is some activists own, say, a significant stake. They're compelling the company to take steps to unleash shareholder value. So those steps may be selling assets abroad, maybe selling their retail business in terms of gasoline stations, or other steps that can drive value. But looking at the global landscape, we see actually activity coming from Asia into, say, Canada. Last year was a very big year for that in terms of cross-border energy deals.
Absolutely. So in terms of cross-border deals, who do you think are the dominant players right now?
In an energy sector or just in general?
Energy sector.
Well, I mean, if you look at Conoco or perhaps in the United States as a buyer, they're being less active. I think there's just actually a transaction that was announced today where I believe it was Shell was selling some assets that were in Australia. Conversely, the Italian oil company was selling some assets they own in North Africa to also some Asian buyers.
Okay, and one last question before we go is, right now this whole environmental thing, it's about public opinion, because right now you and I, we can do a deal on Wall Street, but really we have to think about what Main Street thinks about. So what do you think about that? Do you, when deal makers are doing a deal, do you care about the perception?
Well, I mean, I think the deal makers themselves, be it the buyers or the sellers, they have to be cognizant of not only their shareholders, but the customers they serve. Obviously, there's a lot of numbers are being tossed about, billions of dollars, and a sort of the average person in the street thinks those are staggering, and there's still vast pockets of underemployment. Some household incomes are still not seeing the gains that other areas have had. Consumer debt has been picking up a little bit, but then if you look at student loan activity, there's a generation of individuals that are being held back because of those obligations. So I think the buyers and the M&A bankers and even all parties have to be cognizant of a broader goal.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Anything else you want to tell us?
Again, I welcome this opportunity, and I think hopefully we have some moments to share that we can better educate your viewers.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yep.